Shadowy Supercoder NFT, GenesisGo, Solana Startup. NFT IQ here. Today we will be discussing what I consider to be the most promising and most interesting NFT launch happening kind of in this bear market. And we are looking at an NFT that has legitimate utility, that isn't just birthing out more NFTs, launch pads, or giving you kind of like these magic tokens for breeding NFTs and blah, blah, blah. This is a project that is a legitimate startup with technical expertise and founders with proven track record of success. Plus, there's a way for you to get in on their new cryptocurrency that has huge potential for massive gains. So that being said, get this out of the way. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, and the NFT space is extremely risky. No one really knows what's going to happen to your money out there. So good luck with your NFT investments. That being said, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, bell notifications for time-sensitive updates like this one, because I think these things are going to actually sell out. And I know I'm not talking about the mint. I'm talking about the actual just selling out on Solanart, or the floor price is just going to go absolutely crazy. So hearing about these projects as I hear about them, you probably want to be in on the loop on that. So let's dive into Shadowy Supercoder NFT. So here I am on Solanart, and you can see this is it looks like kind of a traditional PFP project, but it is far from that. This is just an example of the artwork and what's available on the marketplace. So I figured we would just start off kind of looking at what the artwork looks like, and you can see these three screens are randomized. The person who's sitting at the computer is also randomized, and there's different background colors, different desk colors, all this kind of stuff. So the traditional trait system and rarity and all that is pretty straightforward. I think they look pretty cool. Obviously, I can identify with this a lot because I like to think of myself as a shadowy supercoder. Maybe not so shadowy though, but hopefully supercoder at least. Anyways, just looking at the artwork, nothing too exciting here, right? Well, that's where we need to take a deeper dive, because what is happening with this NFT is it is actually being used to fund a startup. And this startup is called GenesisGo. And what GenesisGo does is they have been running validator servers for Solana. So for a price, a person can pay them to set up a server that will validate Solana transactions. And so this is an important part of the blockchain. It's like the foundation of the blockchain is validating the transactions on the network. It's kind of like Bitcoin mining, a little bit different. I won't get into the technical details on that too much, but essentially this company, they purchase servers, and then individuals can like rent those out, or they can configure and deploy all the software on those servers to do this Solana validation. However, they are now branching out using this NFT project as sort of the Kickstarter to get the money that they need to move into their next area of expertise, which is the RPC servers for the Solana network. So I don't know how many of you have been in a minting event on Solana, for example. This happens on other networks as well, but on Solana, a minting event where everybody's clicking buy now, mint, 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 and it doesn't seem like any of the transactions are going through, or a lot of the transactions are being declined, etc. That's actually a bottleneck at the networking layer. The validators, there's plenty of validator servers to actually verify the transactions, but the actual request coming from the wallets going to the computers that route the traffic to the validator servers is a bottleneck, and it's highly centralized, probably by big corporations that operate these kinds of networking servers. And so what this company wants to do with the money they've raised from minting is they've started purchasing servers, installing RPC software on them, and configuring them to run RPC. So what this does is when there's a Solana transaction coming from a request coming from a wallet to send money to another wallet, or to mint an NFT or whatever it happens to be, it actually deals with routing that transaction to one of these validator servers and then receiving it back and sending it back and basically coordinating the whole activity. So it's a very critical part of the infrastructure, and not a lot of people know how to do this. And it's a big bottleneck, and it's, like I said, it's highly centralized. So this is a very much in-demand enterprise that they're getting themselves into. Now, on top of that, they've already had success with their validator services, and they're just trying to branch out to this RPC space because they see the potential. So that's great. But as an NFT holder, how are you part of this at all? It sounds like they just tried to raise some money with minting, and so that they could buy these servers, and like, what are you going to get out of your NFT? Like, what actually gives the NFT value? So let's dive into how that works with my little slideshow here. The way this works is all 10,000 of the NFTs, all of the holders, all the wallets that are holding one or more of those NFTs, they're going to be issued GenesisGo tokens. And these GenesisGo tokens are actually seed tokens that are being sold to you at a very low price. So if you're familiar in the crypto world, which I don't have a ton of experience with, but generally, before a new token is launched, there's a pre-sale. And then if the project is popular, the lucky people get in on the pre-sale, they buy super low. And then after the pre-sale is done and the token opens up to the regular marketplace, the floor of the token price usually skyrockets. So that's kind of the scenario that they're hoping for, and that I'm optimistic to see with this project. If you look at why I think this could be successful, obviously I think that the team already has a history of success managing these validator servers, and the RPC bottleneck seems to be like a pretty big problem from the way they make it sound. So let's talk about what they did with their minting money and why they did this through minting an NFT. So the number one reason is a company like this could easily get venture capital. I mean, if you have a software related startup that's making money with a small team and you're in the black and you're doing pretty well, finding venture capital is not that hard, but you're relinquishing a lot of power over to bankers, over to investors. And that's not always the best thing to do for your company. So this team wanted to avoid that scenario, and they instead wanted to have a decentralized fundraising mechanism where they could get like the Solana community itself in on the investment. And so that's why they chose to do fundraising through an NFT project. Now they're going to have to spend a lot of money on operational overhead to purchase the servers for running this RPC stuff. So really in the cloud infrastructure space or in the computer infrastructure space, there are two options, which is you can either, this is oversimplifying a bit, but you can either rent servers from a cloud provider like Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Compute, IBM, Microsoft Azure. You can rent out resources from them, and they could do this RPC on rented infrastructure. There's pros and cons to that, but they've chosen, because they want to be decentralized and they want to be away from these big companies, they're actually purchasing the servers and managing them themselves. And so this gives them a cost advantage. It gives them more technical overhead, more engineering overhead, but it also gives them a technical a cost advantage to any competitors who try and get into this space. There's also a treasury that they're maintaining. So there's not a whole lot of details on that, but some of the mint money actually is going into a treasury for future projects, for expanding the company, blah, blah, blah. But a major part of it also is going into a liquidity pool. And this is something that I had to learn about, all the tokenomics and how a liquidity pool works. So what a liquidity pool is when you engineer a new coin like this, there has to be confidence that people will be able to sell your coin in exchange for something that is already abundant and widely used, like Ethereum or Solana or US dollars or whatever, so that when somebody buys your coin, they know that they have liquidity and they can sell it and they can get their money, they get their earnings, or minimize their losses, whatever. They can get their money out of your coin into something that is more widely accepted. And so the way you do that is, as a company, before you launch your new coin, you decide how many coins you're going to issue, and then based on how many there are, you calculate how much liquidity pool you need, and then you purchase like Ethereum or Solana or whatever, and you keep it in like a bucket. And that bucket is available for when people in the who purchase your coin that then sell, they're like guaranteed to be able to work through that liquidity pool to sell off your token, if that makes sense. So that's where a lot of the minting money is going. They haven't really broken it down on paper yet. I'm sure they will, but the hasn't really happened yet. So not entirely clear, but that's where a lot of the money is going. And another big thing that they've done is these RPC servers that they're starting up. They're actually going to run them for free just to give back to the Solana community for the rest of the year. So that's pretty cool. And that's really good on them for doing that. So let's look really briefly at the breakdown of the tokenomics. Sorry for the mess on the screen here. There's going to be 200 million coins. So this is preliminary, by the way. I don't think this is set in stone yet, but there's going to be 200 million tokens. NFT holders will get 50% of those, which is 100 million. And then there's some of it's going to their treasury. Some of it's going to emissions, which is basically payouts that happen over time as incentives for different activities when they're within their community. And then there's the IDO. So that is how the tokenomics is kind of broken down at the moment for those of you who are into that. So let's talk about just really quick about the mint money and how much money they raised, because the minting is done. The minting was finished, I think 2 days ago now. And so stepping back to another spreadsheet that I've shown you before on different startup types and estimating the runway and the expenses of these different startups, this startup definitely is categorized as a software startup, in my opinion, and their mint revenue, my estimate, is about $6.125 million, which is a pretty decent chunk of money for getting a project like this off the ground. I'm sure they figured out how much money they needed and planned everything around that. So the mint price was 2.5 Solana, and they minted 10,000, and so that gave them 25,000 Solana. And at the time, 2 days ago, it was about $245. I think it's hovering closer to around 250. Solana is doing really well right now, so that's really cool. Now, that being the case, as a software startup, their startup costs are high. Like, they have to purchase all these servers, plus all the tokenomics and the liquidity pool, blah, blah, blah. All those expenses are really high. Their annual expenses are high. So they're definitely going to have to start bringing in revenue through the RPC servers in order to make this project successful. But I think that they can do that. So let's go back to my slideshow and talk about what are the incentives to hold this NFT. So as I mentioned, they're going to be distributing and this is not set in stone, but probably 10,000 of these tokens to the wallets that are associated with every NFT. So every NFT that you hold, you're going to be getting 10,000 of these tokens. And like if you had paid the mint price, then that would have been 6 cents per token. And now the mint price is different depending on the floor price. You'll have to calculate that yourself, but essentially you're going to be buying these, you're going to be getting these tokens early. these seed tokens will also have a vesting period. So one of the common scenarios that's easy to avoid. So a problem that can happen, let's put it that way, with one of these seed funding rounds is that everybody sells off all at once. So everybody that gets their seed money, when they get these tokens and then it launches, everybody sells at the same time and the token just never really takes off because the market's flooded. Well, they're using smart contracts on Solana in order to vest a percentage of all of your tokens. So that's going to prevent a massive sell-off, which is really cool. In addition, there's a way to earn emissions on the non-vested seed tokens. This is a very vague notion in the Discord server right now, so I can't get into that too much. But really the bottom line is, if you believe you can get these seed tokens for less than they're going to be worth on the open market, then now's the time to buy this NFT. And speaking of when is it time to buy, it was minted 2 days ago, and as I mentioned, the mint price was 2.5 Solana, and now we're at a floor price of like just below 9. I was waiting for it to kind of peak and then dip, just trying to get a sense of where the floor is the last couple days because I did not get in on the mint, unfortunately. And it's been hovering between 8 and 9, like very steady for the last 2 days. So I think anything between 8 and 9 Solana, maybe even below 10 Solana, is going to be a fair deal for these. They have 4,000 people on their Discord server, which is not the largest community, obviously, compared to a lot of like these super hyped up PFP projects like Jungle Freaks, where they had like 50,000 people in there aping, but that's not really what this one's all about. Instead, this like really grew organically from the Solana community, and they have very high quality members who are interested in engaging with their project in there, because these are all Solana people who like have a real need for these RPC servers. So that's pretty cool. And the last thing I want to show is something that was posted in the Discord. Last thing from the slideshow anyways. Which is an example scenario of how much money you can make off of the IDO allocation. So when you get your seed tokens, how much money is that really going to turn into? Of course, there's no way to know this. This isn't financial advice, but this was the example that the project owner mentioned in Discord. So if there's 20 million tokens from the IDO allocation and 20 million tokens for the seed token holders, so for the NFT holders, and the token price at IDO is $1, then that would be a $40 million IDO. And then the distribution of that money would be $20 million sent to the Shadowy Supercoder DAO treasury. So that's money for their startup and for other activities for this little community. And then $20 million that would be sent to people who choose to sell their, basically take their profits on the token. So that's like a breakdown if the token price managed to make it to $1 at the time of launch or whatever point in time in the future. So I think that's pretty optimistic, but also like a pretty interesting scenario to really break it down for you. Last thing that I want to mention is there was some perks for people who minted. It sounds like they're doing an airdrop of some other NFT. I'm not sure. There hasn't really been any details confirmed on that, but I didn't mint, so I'm not really in on that. But really, it doesn't matter if you minted or if you just hold the NFT that you bought off of Solanart secondary or whatever. Like I'm going to be, you will be receiving the seed tokens as long as you hold the NFT when the IDO goes down. So it's urgent that you get in on this project, and I will keep you updated when they announce when they're going to be locking all that up and basically scheduling the IDO. So with that, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be following up on this video because I'm going to be buying one of these, hopefully too. And with that, NFT IQ, Talk to you next time.